So we've been riding through the John Day Fossil Beds Canyon and the road that leads through it. And this is the town of Mitchell off of the main road. It's just kind of basically just a little side road off of the main highway. And man, what a cool little stop. This is like, I love it. This is old Oregon right here. Great time. So we rode out of little town of Mitchell and turned a right and made our way on up toward Fossil. I still find this landscape just breathtaking. I mean, it reminds me, I think I mentioned it in the article too, it reminds me of something out of the old John Wayne movie, The Searchers. Just these barren, nearly barren hills and rocky hillsides with, you know, sparse vegetation, but it's still just incredibly beautiful. I was finding that the GoPro mounted on the side of the big ST-1300 was working out really well. I didn't do any more footage, obviously, from the back, but caught a good picture of just, you know, shifting. You could see me and the guys up ahead, forward, and then got a good side view over the right of the landscape and everything. Actually pulled over at the John Day Fossil Beds Canyon. I think they call this John Day Fossil Canyon. Pretty remarkable. The guys went on ahead, but I'm going to catch them on the other side. I enjoyed riding through this little box canyon right here. The other guys rode right into it, and I was so kind of gasped at how cool this was going to be. So I pulled over on the side of the road and clipped the GoPro onto my chin and had to roll camera and then try to catch up with all of them. But man, it was just incredible. And again, just this crazy change in landscape and change in topography and scenery. Very cool. After a little while, Dave Kelly, there he goes, went back by. And I thought he went back by looking for me because they all realized that I had disappeared back there. But turns out he wasn't back looking for me. He went back to snap some photos himself. So anyway, on into Fossil. So here we are in Fossil, Oregon. Man, what a gorgeous ride it's been to get here for sure. Outstanding. Time to go get some grub. We gotta look around this town, man. This is so cool. So after a belly full of burger down in Fossil, it's called the Corner Cafe, and corner is spelled with a K. The Corner Cafe in Fossil, just up the street from the museum and down the street from the Little Baptist Church. We're back on the road and rolling out across open country, making for Antelope. Don't you just love this scenery? Man, I'm going to be ready to go back and ride all this again. That's for sure. A little more hip pocket footage right here. Just incredible views. Weather was warming up. It was really quite comfortable to ride. Of course, I got that gigantic, what they called a barn door fairing I was hiding behind. I'm all of about 5'8", so I was in like a nice little bubble pocket right behind that big, huge fairing. So I didn't really get cold when it was too cold, and when it was hot, took the liner out of the Sedici Marco mesh gear and breathed really well, so no problems. Great roads up in this part of the country, as well as great twisties. You can see a couple of the guys up ahead. I'm doing my best trying to keep up with them. Let's not talk about speed limits. But I was really starting to feel the 1300. I was getting used to its lean angle and its handling, and very flickable for a big, huge, heavy bike. So we are in Antelope, Oregon, the location of the town that the Netflix miniseries Wild Wild Country took place in. The true story of the followers of the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, whose people came here and pretty much took this place over before they eventually all just fell apart and left as well. It's a weird piece of history, early 1980s. So we're going to run up to the schoolhouse, and this was a restaurant that kind of served, I guess, as a town hall and other things, kind of a confrontation place between townspeople and a lot of the Bhagwan's followers. So, interesting. Well, Ted, tell us a little bit about what happened at the school here as far as your recollections.
Well, we're in Antelope, and behind me is the one-room schoolhouse that is in Antelope. And back in the 80s when the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh took this over, I mean, they also took over the school board too. Knowing a few superintendents at the time when they had school board meetings here, the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh were not very popular, so school board members from other nearby counties like Hood River and John Day would show up armed. That's a school board meeting for you.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah, seems like your dad told me that, that first time some council members from other towns showed up just to show support for the people of Antelope, that they were met at the door by Bhagwan's orange-clad guards with AK-47s that said, "You can't enter here," and they said, "Well, yes, we can."
Yeah, it was not peaceful, and if you want to hear more of the story, go watch Wild Wild Country on Netflix and learn more. It goes from weird to bizarre to terrorism to attempted assassinations to
poisoning.
War.
Yeah, I mean poisoning the water of and the soup kitchens and stuff of the locals, and
it has something to do with putting a beaver in a blender.
Seriously, you need to watch
Seriously.
it. You need to watch it. My wife and I did, and we were glued for 6 nights in a row, man.
And
it was
all
crazy.
Happened
right
here.
Right there, and right down in town. It's crazy. Interesting to be here. So if you want to know more about what happened in Antelope from about 1980 to about 1985, you can find a 6-part miniseries on Netflix. It's called Wild Wild Country. You really need to watch it. Very eye-opening. I remember being in college about that time and hearing about it. I want to share some extra footage with you right here. This is actually, we took the GoPro, we rigged up a mount on Ted on the side of his helmet and stuck my chin-mounted GoPro on him. And he and his boys, as they're flying around some curves, further up and further out after leaving Fossil and Shantico and Antelope, just thought we could put some of this footage in. There's a reason why these guys are kind of nicknamed the Fast Boys. These guys on the VFRs, they ride a little bit more brisk than the rest of the mild hogs. And I was riding with the mild hogs a lot. A lot of those guys are on big sport tours like the one I was on. But as the week went on, I felt a lot more comfortable to try to keep pace, or at least keep the Wild Rose guys in my sights, trying to keep them within view at least. But great time. Both groups are really just one group. Just some of them ride a little faster, some of them take it a little more easy. But great riding group up in that part of the country. And we cross back into Oregon, or into this is actually Oregon. Yeah, we're crossing into what am I saying? We're crossing into Oregon. We've been kind of back and forth, and this is crossing the bridge down into the Dalles, Dalles, where some of the guys were making a pit stop to a local dealership to get some tire issues and some electrical issues addressed. But that's the Columbia River Gorge. mighty river. The river flows one way and the winds flow another. Hey, we're at Fun Country Motorsports in the Dalles, Oregon. We had to stop in here because after days of riding through and rain and sleet and snow, it's been crazy. Some of us have been starting to have some electrical issues, and one of our guys needed a new front tire, so we pulled in here, and man, they took care of several of our guys that needed some help, and got some new tires going, got some electrical issues addressed and everything. So if you're in the Dalles area on the Columbia River Gorge, in this part of northern Oregon bordering on southern Washington, check out Fun City Motorsports, Fun Country Power Sports. I want to make sure I say it right. Good people. They took good care of our crew, and we're very appreciative of them. So onward and upward. Heading to the campground for the night. Said goodbye to Oregon and heading for dinner. It's been a long day of riding. Crossing back over into Washington, we went through the little town of Lisle, picked up some groceries, and then the winding road up toward Morning Song, which is where we were going to, a guest house we were going to be in for a couple of days, was just as much fun as any of the other bigger, more well-known roads we were on. This was a blast to climb this road with these tight curves and everything, up and back. It's been a long day of riding, but it's been good. Left out of Prairie City, Oregon this morning and rode over to a little bitty map dot called Mitchell. Had a great time in this little bitty town there that was once the scene of one of the many, I guess, zombie apocalypse movies. I don't know, we were talking to one of the gals that runs a little coffee shop in there, and she was telling us about it. Rode out of Mitchell across up onto the high plains, rode into Fossil, ate lunch at a great little cafe in Fossil, and rode out of Fossil, took the mountain roads, great roads, over to the weird little town, because of what's happened there, of Antelope. And then out of Antelope, we rode up onto the high plains and over to Shannecoe. But on the way, got in a hailstorm and we got pelted for like 20 minutes. It was ridiculous. Just got beat to death. And then you descend out of that down really tight curves down into the valley, and it was kind of wet, so we had to really take it easy and be careful with it. And on the other side of Shannecoe, and then down into eventually into the Columbia River Gorge, and made our way into the town called the Dalles, and that's where, you know, like I said previously, some of our guys had a little bit of electrical work done, and one guy needed a tire, and they always take care of this crew when they come through. The guys always make it a point to stop at Fun Country Power Sports, and then after that we crossed back over into Washington, little town called Lisle, named after one of my childhood best friend. I texted him a picture of the sign, and then made our way up out of Lisle, took some twisty curvy roads up to this beautiful place here, place called Morning Song, and this is where we'll be kind of doing some little day loops and stuff like that tomorrow, and then we'll leave out the next day after that, so we'll do 2 nights here. But it's outstanding. I'm hoping that tomorrow it'll clear up and we'll be able to see the famous Mount Hood off in the distance. So a lot of miles, a couple hundred miles or more today. May have been upwards of 300 miles we logged something today. And man, I'm feeling it. So glad to be here, getting ready to get something to eat with the fellas. And more riding tomorrow. So we'll report on where we'll be tomorrow and everything. It's been really quite the epic road trip. So for the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Bye.